and welcome back to Movie Night. We haven't done one of these in quite a while.
What's movie night? I don't. Also, I'm super out of focus. I just
It's
realized.
it's that thing that we haven't done in months.
What was the last one we did?
We did Norseman, our Northman.
Ah, yes.
So it was Alicia's choice this time, and we watched a Disney
Far more
classic.
serious, gritty version than Norseman this time.
Yeah, this time we were watching Lilo and Stitch,
The original.
the original Lilo and Stitch, because that's right, there was a sequel, and there was apparently a TV show too.
Yeah, I think I might have seen the video. I know I had
I may
the
have seen
game back on. I think it was Game Boy Advance.
See, this was one of those Disney movies that I saw it when it first came out, and then
Yeah.
I don't think I ever watched it again after that. Like a lot of Disney movies that I like, and I remember liking it, I just never ever rewatched it.
Same, to be honest. I remember. It's weird. Okay, so when we started watching, I was like, I recognize that guy. I don't remember anything about this scene, but I recognize that guy too, and that guy. It's like I remember what characters looked like, but nothing else about the whole film.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I had forgotten about the whole like sci-fi council at the beginning. So the movie opens up and there's the trial of the evil scientist guy, and he's created a biological life form which is Stitch, and he's designed to kill and whatever genetic experimentation. It's all illegal,
This
and
is
so
just kind of in vitro. Is that the right word? In vitro fertilization?
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a different species.
In vitro, yeah, means you're doing it artificially.
In a test tube.
Yeah. In vivo means you're doing it in like a living thing. In vivo versus in vitro. Latin. Sorry. So they've got him on trial. And one of the first things in my notes that I have is, well, actually, on the point you just made, the second line in my notes, I recognize these voice actors. Like there was a couple people who were just like kind of familiar, but I couldn't quite place them.
Yeah, I guess I kind of get it. Like the really big dude. I think he rings a bell.
I did look him up during the movie because it was bothering me, and I've seen him in some other stuff, but nothing really notable. He was
also, I think, sorry.
No, he was distinct but not memorable.
I think as a child, I mean, apart from Stitch himself, I think that guy was my favorite character. Just because he looked fucking badass.
The guy we're talking about is like the big security military man for the
He's
Space
basically a
Council.
whale in a jumpsuit.
He was like, yes, he was like a killer whale with like weird horn things and just like bodybuilder's physique. But
if they made him a narwhal, that would have been perfect. With a giant fucking horn in his head.
Right off the bat, I don't know, the sci-fi space council people kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Of course they did.
One of the first things I wrote was like the sci-fi council is evil too.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, freedom of everything.
Fuck the UN.
Which is fair enough.
I mean, like, that was my idea for the opening to a joke review of The Expanse. Like, The Expanse is set in a dystopian future where the UN took over the world. Anyway, I don't want to get off topic this early in the video.
A lot like Lilo and Stitch. That's going to be our lasting review. You can put that on the box art.
Anyway, so they sentence the doctor to jail, and they sentence his genetic creation Stitch to be deathed. They're gonna like throw him into a sun or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what their plan was for that.
The reason that they did it was because they give him an option to live, and like they try to communicate with him, and then he just essentially swears at the head of the Galactic Republic or whatever.
But if they're going to execute him, and I've kind of already building my own argument against this in my head, but they put him in a chamber, and they're like these two mega powerful guns that, in theory, they're able to kill you, because otherwise, why have them there? Are trained on your head. Why haven't they fired? And then my argument against myself is because they want to make a ceremony of it, like, you know, with the electric chair back in the day.
Like a public
hanging.
My
third argument is that if this space community is so offended by people swearing at them, then a public execution is going to be so far out there that it's just insane. So
we can also talk about the fact that this is like a Disney movie meant for like all ages, and it opens with a sentencing to a public execution. That's a
our editor has just come in with a note.
Mm.
In capital letters, it says "read." They were going to exile him to a desert planet.
Oh, that's what it was. For some reason, I thought they were gonna like throw him into the sun or something like that.
And that's how Star Wars started.
Whoops. Okay, so they weren't gonna try to kill him; they were gonna exile him.
Yeah, which I mean,
and to be fair, I liked the scene where he escaped. In my notes, I have clever creatures, stupid auto guns, because the guns are like trained to his DNA. So he realizes that if he spits, they'll shoot at his spit.
Yeah, which is a bit weird. Why didn't they just shoot him?
A bit of a design flaw there. So he just spits on like the guard or the pilot or something, and the gun starts shooting at him, and that's how he manages to escape. There was something that I never picked up on this as a kid watching this, but now as an adult, I'm realizing, and now that we've started to do these movie nights a bit more, and I'm starting to look at things a little more critically, I've noticed that every one of the aliens, everything had a very Hawaiian motif. Like all the aliens were some variety of fish or ocean creature, but just modified. Like the Galactic Emperor lady, she was kind of like a squid thing. Like her head looked like it. Big Muscle Man was a shark man.
Manatee.
Yeah. There was a few that looked like shellfish of some variety. It was just like space crustaceans rule the galaxy.
What was the fucking scientist? A blobfish?
That's actually a good question. Yeah. I love the fact that I can't wait till we get to it later on. But the scientist ended up being one of my favorite characters. Because spoiler alert, he does come back.
Anyway, let's go on with the plot.
Yeah, so he escapes, uses some kind of like warp drive, and then
kills about 100 odd aliens in the process.
Yeah, it is escape. They kind of gloss over that point later on, but
yeah, a little bit.
Anyway, so he escapes, and they're like, "Oh, he's headed to this planet. Oh, look, it's like 70% water. He has no chance because he's so dense. He just sinks and drowns in water. He's like the characters in Grand Theft Auto. He dies when he touches water."
Was that the reason? I thought he just was heavy enough that he can swim forever because he hasn't got the energy.
Well, if you remember later in the movie, he does go in water, and he doesn't swim for any amount of time. He's so dense that he just sinks.
Right.
And so they were like, "Oh, great!" And they're like, "Oh, he's headed right for water." And then he hits Hawaii, so it's this tiny little dot of land, and the space people are like, "Oh, fuck."
Yeah.
It's like he could have hit any of this water, and he lucks out and hits Hawaii, and one of the smaller islands, not the main
lucks
one.
Out.
Lucks out for him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
which he could have got off of very easily, because he's a very intelligent being, and he will have seen boats.
Yeah, I think the movie would have been very different had the galactic people not been pursuing him, because he would have found a way to get off and do evil deeds. Which that's something that I forgot about.
Ways.
I forgot about how much of a psycho Stitch is in the beginning of the movie.
Real psychopath.
Anyway, so then we go see the human characters, which it's this little girl and her big sister, and it's very quickly established
that the little sister is a pain in the ass.
The little sister's a pain in the ass, but potentially for good reason. She's acting out because they've lost both their parents, and so the only one taking care of her is her big sister, and so she's her legal guardian now, and so she gets into like fights with her friends. I think she like bites one of her friends when they were making fun of her or something like that.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes. Some girl turns to her and it's just like, that was weird or something.
Yeah.
She just turns to her and full on punches her in the face. She's literally got her pushed down on the deck and she's just beating the shit out of her. I was like, oh, hot damn.
Bitch,
forget the bite. Moves. She's got a fucking broken nose, probably a broken jaw.
I actually, what I have in my notes here, girls are the biggest bullies to each other. I don't know, because I feel like that's something, just a little side social commentary there. Thinking back to like, being in school, like guys will bully each other, but it never really gets that bad. The worst it gets is it'll actually break out into a fight. Seeing what like some of the female friends I had went through in terms of like bullying and stuff, girls are vicious to each other.
No, I mean you don't tend to see. You don't, and obviously, it's certainly not a finite rule, but quite often boys will bully boys and girls will bully girls. But obviously, that's not always the rule.
A little side anecdote here. My chemistry teacher in high school, he used to teach at a much rougher school than the one he was teaching at, and these two girls got into like a fight outside of his classroom in the hallway at one point, and he couldn't really physically intervene to stop them because then he would get in trouble. But one of the girls, this is, keep in mind, high school is like age 13 to 19 or 13 to 18 or so, depending on when you get in. One of the girls was pregnant and took off, and the other girl like took off one of her high-heeled shoes and was trying to stab the other girl with the heel. And so he just basically had to stand in the middle of the two of them to prevent them from killing each other. You know, it's hair pulling, stabbing with a high-heeled shoe, and one of them was pregnant. It could not have been a more...
Hang on, why the fuck are they wearing high-heeled shoes at school?
You're not normally allowed to. I don't know why they... maybe it was a shittier school. My school didn't allow it.
And also, if it's a shittier school, I would want people to come in combat boots, not fucking high-heeled. Not knowing from experience, but hearing all the horror stories, it's easy to snap an ankle in a high-heeled shoe, especially if you're in a catty place.
Yeah, this was a story he told us. I wasn't there. No one wore fucking high heels in my high school. Anyway, that's getting off topic though. I actually watching this back, and the sister really didn't stick out in my mind from when I watched the show as a kid, but watching it now as an adult, I really liked the sister. Like she ended up being like a really good character.
Yeah,
like she a really well developed character too.
Not the smartest,
no,
but a good person. Yes.
Yeah, she wasn't like, she's not like a super genius, but she cares about her family. She works hard to try and do what she can. She has her moments of like weakness where she shouts at the kid and stuff like that, but you could tell it was a very well written character.
Moments of weakness shouting at the kid. The kid deserved to get more than shouted at.
That's actually okay. That's fair. That's fair. There's actually there's later on, after they're making up from like one of the fights that they had, the sister has one, like the little sister Lilo has one of the most like heartbreaking lines, just like,
oh, I fucking hated that.
Well, what was it? It was, the line was something like, I like you better when you're a sister than when you're a mother, or something like that. And that one, it gave me some feels, just like
but that's not about whatever the word is. Aloha, and it's not aloha. There's a different word.
Yeah, the
X
something
means family.
Yeah, that one.
Alicia's gonna shout at me now for not remembering what it is, but that was so nice. She was like, "Oh, you know what? You're right. Everything you said is correct." She just said correct. Well, it's not aloha, so I don't think I am correct.
Yeah, aloha is hello and goodbye, but it's
ohana.
Like, ohana. Thank you. Ohana means family.
You.
Yeah.
No, and the sister's just like, "No, you're absolutely right. This rabid dog is part of our family now. I'm gonna leave it with my little sister." Some more. They just tore up the house. So I'm going to leave with my sister because she said ohana.
We're skipping something because there is a social worker that comes by.
True.
And he is basically, if you could think of like a mob enforcer, like he's this big dude wearing a suit with like tattooed knuckles, dark shades. First of all, he had to be sweating his ass off in that suit in Hawaii. But like I think his name was like Bubbles too.
Yeah.
So he comes in to check on them and see how how things are going with the sister and make an assessment whether or not she's an appropriate guardian.
I think it was a reference to the Men in Black, but I could be
basically wrong. Yeah. Well, later on he becomes a reference to them. Yeah. Social workers are. I feel like there's
Alicia sent me a clip saying, "Leave me alone to die. This is important." When she's lying on the floor. and I don't know, she wants to die or something. I don't
Oh,
see how that's that important.
it was, well, no, I think it's because it's like said when the social worker is there or something like that, and it
No, that's what she's got her head through the cat flap, I think, before he turns up.
oh yeah, and she's like screaming, and the yeah, oh, it was like the perfect like bad situation, and so he's like, oh, I'm gonna keep my eye on you and make sure nothing goes bad. And so one of the things they do though, to try the sister to try and make her feel better, is they're gonna go get a pet. And so they go to the shelter, and all the other dogs are hiding from Stitch because he's crazy, and some kind of a monster.
Because Stitch got hit by a truck and brought into the pound.
Yeah, and that's how they establish very early on how basically indestructible he is. He's run over by like an 18-wheeler.
Which, by the way, he had 6 arms when he was knocked out, and he was wearing a jumpsuit, and clearly doesn't look like a dog. And they put him in a kennel. Dogs.
Yeah, his jumpsuit does get kind of torn up. But yeah, you're right. It's a bit of a plot contrivance, but you know, come on, they need to get him to the little girl somehow. But he does retract his 2 fake arm or his 2 middle arms, so he only has 4 legs now, and it looks a little bit more like a dog. So they adopt him, and despite the protestations of the person running the pound and the older sister, and they take him home, and chaos ensues.
Well, no. First of all, Stitch uses the little girl as, oh look, there's a human here. You can't shoot me.
Oh right, yeah. Oh, that I forgot that. So going back to the Galactic people, they send a science guy, he's basically like an anthropologist, and his whole thing is he studies Earth, and so he knows about this planet.
Well, not Earth specifically, just species that are going extinct, and there's a species on Earth that they're trying to cultivate.
Mosquitoes. Yeah, that was the running joke, is that, you know, mosquitoes were going extinct, and so they're using Earth to cultivate them. And so they send him, and they get the science the mad scientist guy. They take him out of jail and send him after the after Stitch. And so they're on the planet hunting them, but they have a mission parameter. They can't be seen. They can't be discovered by the local populace. And so this becomes the dynamic. This is why Stitch mostly behaves, because he knows they're right there trying to hunt him down, and if he, you know, exposes himself, then they'll be able to openly hunt him. And he basically plays a good dog so that they won't take him out. Yeah.
Well, when you say a good dog, just he plays a bad.
He plays a dog. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you're ever, at trouble at home, you're looking after your sister, you have no parents, you're barely able to look after your sister, don't go and buy a dog. That's the stupidest thing to do. That's adding more responsibility to an already overladen.
Well, it's like trying to teach the little girl responsibility. Like, she's got to take care of someone else. You know, teach her a lesson about caring for something.
She can't even pay for the little girl, and now she's got a dog to feed.
It's fair. Also, I forgot about this. Just a random detail that made me laugh. Lilo has a fat people scrapbook.
Oh yeah, that was really disturbing. I hated that. Not even a scrapbook, just all over her walls.
She's taking photos of like fat tourists, and she just pins them up on her wall. It's just, I think they're trying to establish.
Beautiful. It's like, what?
She's just weird.
I get the whole thing about people thinking that any kind of body is beautiful. I mean, that's quite a modern thing, I'd say.
Yeah, it's also not true.
This is just odd.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's see here. There's this funny little line from the Russian scientist that I want to mention, is that they're asking him what will he do. He's like, he'll be drawn to large city. He had a Russian accent, which I can't do. He'll be drawn to large cities and he'll destroy them. And it's funny because he's going around the island, and then Lilo is like, man, it's great being so far away from all the large cities, or something like that, because they're on a tiny island in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, Stitch just like passes out.
Yeah, it's just like, oh fuck. Let's see. Oh, I wrote here, the sister needs a date. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's the Surfer Bro character. Yeah, he's a surfer bro who also performs as like a fire dancer at the hotel. That
He's not bad. I don't mind him so
I
much.
I actually, yeah,
Considering how much I normally hate that kind of character, he did a good. He was a
yeah,
good job.
he was a fairly likable character, and I was actually kind of like rooting for the two of them to get together. Like the sister needed, you know, needed a good partner, and he seemed like he'd be good for her. It's funny I think this is the difference watching this show being older. When I was a kid, I was focused in like heavily on Lilo and Stitch. As an adult, I was focused in on like the sister and like what was going on with her life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Um,
Oh yeah, and so I think because of Stitch coming to the restaurant with her sister, like he does
yeah.
something to cause problems and gets the sister fired, right?
He sees the scientist and the other
Oh,
one in disguise.
and he bites the scientist's head.
Yeah, and then fired for that.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then
fair enough.
fair enough. And the thing is, as they're walking away, like the boss genuinely looks guilty for firing her. He didn't
I
seem
mean,
like it wasn't malicious. Like he actually seemed like he regretted having to do it. That's
well, he made the decision pretty quickly. To be fair,
fair, fair.
it wasn't like a thought out thing. It's like, oh, your dog bit someone,
It,
you're
it
fired.
it's one of those things though. As a restaurant owner, you kind of have to do that because you don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
So it's like he had to make the decision, but it looked like he didn't. He wasn't happy
Hmm.
about having to make the decision. There really weren't any super bad people in this series.
No, that kind of annoyed me, but we'll get back to that.
Okay, let's see here. Yep, this is where they talk about Ohana and they're all family.
You know who the only bad character is?
Hmm.
Is the ginger haired girl. They
Yeah,
never give her any redeeming qualities.
yeah. Well, I mean, you're a ginger in Hawaii. What the fuck are you doing there? Sorry.
Not what I'm saying, but there you go. Oh,
So they like the little girl and Stitch have like a bonding moment, and he starts to. This is where like he has his the Grinch's heart grew 10 sizes moment where he starts to like form a connection that's not destroy things because clearly being brought up in a lab he didn't have that sort of connection, and so they do some playing things and so she has him like try to build something in the room. He builds like a realistic version of San Francisco out of like books and toys and things, and then goes stomping around it, destroying things like Godzilla. It was kind of funny.
yeah.
And what I wrote in my notes here was Stitch has an existential crisis.
Oh. Oh yeah, the Ducklings book, the Ugly Duckling.
Yeah, and there was a moment like he threw the book or something, and it just I'm trying to remember what exactly. What I have in my notes here is I laughed so hard when Stitch threw the book. I actually don't remember what I was talking about in that, but yeah.
Elsa, do you remember when Stitch threw the book? I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, she gives him the Ugly Duckling book, and he reads about that, and he has again that moment of just like, oh God, what am I and stuff, and he kind of wanders off into the forest, and curls up with that book, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think he realizes he's caused problems for them, and it just like hurts him.
Yeah, I mean, the Ugly Duckling isn't a great comparison considering what it's actually about, but I mean, that single image is, I guess, all they needed from it.
Mm. Yeah.
That's way later, apparently.
Oh, is it?
Apparently.
I skip. Okay, so she shows him
After
the book.
the surfing.
Okay, so she shows him the book. Oh, okay. No, I know what you're talking about. He shows him the book in this scene, but he doesn't have that kind of existential crisis at first. Then they go off to the beach, and there's some kind of a accident where the sister is hanging out with Surfer Bro.
He needs to be Elvis next. So the sister's looking for a new job. So they go around a whole bunch of different job places, and then Lilo and trying to make Stitch.
Yeah, they're trying to help out, trying to help her get.
No,
the
they're
job.
not. They're trying to make Stitch become Elvis. So the first place he like sings and
Oh, but they're kind of going to similar places that the sister is, and it causes trouble for her too. That's why, because they're
yeah,
kind of
that's why she loses all the jobs.
yeah. So she doesn't actually end up getting any employment, and I think
No.
eventually they just kind of give up. And
The last point they go to is the beach where the surfing happens.
Yeah,
After
and
everyone gets run off the beach.
yeah, and because something happens, like both Lilo and Stitch end up getting knocked into the water.
Because the bad two people are there.
Yeah, the scientists and the anthropologist guy, and I think Lilo is either trying to save Stitch or Stitch is trying to save her or something like that because they're in the water.
Stitch is getting dragged down. Stitch grabbed Lilo
And they
and
pulls
dragged
them
her
both
down too. Yeah, and
so
then the
they
boyfriend goes under.
Yeah, and they go down and they kick Stitch off her and then pull her up, and
Yeah, the sister does.
the sister does, and then the boyfriend goes back down to try and save Stitch and does, and
Yeah.
they get him back to shore. And this is where he has this moment of like regret, where they're gonna have to like get rid of him or something like that.
Forever sleep is painless.
Yeah, so this is the sad point in the movie, and this is where he takes the book and kind of wanders off on his own into the forest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and he curls up with the book and kind of like goes to sleep and is just sad. And then the next morning, this is where, and also because she doesn't have a job, the social worker is threatening to take Lilo away.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of every Sophony turns up and says the same thing, then fucks off again.
Yeah, and that's that's why she was looking for a job. I forgot that plot point.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so critical. And this was like the deadline the next day, and so now like Lilo is going to get taken away to a home. Stitch is going to get like kicked out. The sister is broke. Like basically everything that could go wrong has gone wrong at this point. So Stitch fucks off, and then the next morning, like they can't find him.
Lilo says like you're not family or something.
Yeah, because he caused a problem for them or something like that, and it makes him run off. And I think the next morning is when they're don't they like she wants to go and find him, like she regrets chasing him off. Am I remembering that wrong? Because there's some reason that they want to find him.
I can't remember. I can't remember. This part of the story was very. Everyone was all over the place.
Yeah, it all happened fairly quickly. Anyway, but the point being, Stitch, because he wandered off on his own and had the little book with him, he
gets spotted while he's got the book in his hands.
Yeah, he gets spotted and gets carried away by the
Whale Lord.
Yeah. Well, no, by the scientist.
No, the scientist is like, I don't want to shoot you.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to shoot you, and then Stitch like kind of explains himself to him, and the scientist is just like, all right, come with me, and then
the scientist still tries to catch him.
He does, but he doesn't like try to tackle him or anything like that. It's more like just come with me, like kind of waves him on and is trying to get him to come with him.
Yeah.
And he's kind of weirded out by the fact that Stitch because Stitch says something to him about family, and he's like, "What? I didn't teach you that.
I am your father.
You have no family."
And then the Millennium Falcon picks up Stitch.
Anyway. So I think at this point, then Surfer Bro. Oh no! It cuts back to them at the house, and Surfer Bro comes, and he's like, "Oh hey, by the way, I think I may have found you a job. We got to run quickly." And so they leave they leave Lilo alone at the house while she runs off to try and get a job. And this is where Russian Man and Stitch come back to the house, and they just have a giant gunfight.
Yeah, and Lilo calls the fucking child protection agency guy and says, "I've been left on my own in the house, and there's a strange man knocking at the door."
Oh yeah. And anyway, the house. If they weren't screwed already, now they're really screwed because the house gets fucking detonated.
Yeah.
And so now, what's it? Sister gets back just in time to see Social Worker Man taking the sister away, and
Taking the Lilo away.
yeah, Lilo away. And she runs off into the woods though and gets out of the car. And now this is where big ol' whale shark man comes in.
That's it. Yeah.
And this is where he captures Stitch and ends up capturing Lilo as well, just by accident, but he doesn't give a fuck. And he takes off in the ship. And now this is what I had in my notes, and
he sticks them on the container on the back of the ship. I assume this isn't what you're going to talk about.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
Okay. Which seems... for a creature that you know is immensely strong, probably strong enough to snap the whole ship in half.
Yeah.
They put him in this little bubble strapped to the back of the craft, and it's not even very secure because of what happens next. But go on.
Yeah, Stitch manages to squeeze his way out of the bubble, and get away.
Doesn't help Lilo.
Now Whale Shark Man is flying away with just Lilo.
Yeah.
And so this is something that I actually really loved, because what I have in my notes here is the Russian scientist is a twist protagonist. Because now that they've been kind of they've been told off by the Galactic Republic to fuck off, you guys are incompetent, I'm sending Whale Shark Man. That's why he's there on the planet. And so they're no longer employed by them. And
which is really backwards if you think about it, because he was in a little prison cell, and instead they've been like, no, you're fired, you fucked up the one thing we told you to do after we let you out of the prison cell. We're going to let you stay on this tropical island for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
it's like, oh okay. No, punish me more.
Oh, wow.
but I actually kind of liked him because I liked him throughout the movie. I liked Russian Scientist Man for pretty much the entire movie. And so it made me really, really happy that he turned out to be like the twist protagonist. Like he's suddenly the good guy.
I wouldn't say protagonist, but there we go.
Good-ish guy. Yeah, he's not not the protagonist, but he's suddenly...
I would classify him as a bounty hunter. Like that level of neutral.
Yeah, kind of the rogue with a heart of gold. Anyway, so anthropologist, Russian man, and Stitch all team up with Sister, who is like surprisingly chill about finding out aliens exist. And they take the spaceship that those two came in on and go in pursuit of Whale Shark Man, which, by the way, they have a much bigger ship than Whale Shark Man.
Like, it's fucking huge.
That kind of weirded me out. Just like, why did Whale Shark Man come in such a dinky ship?
And there was no reason for it to be bigger either.
No. Anyway, so they have a big like spaceship gunfight through the Hawaiian mountains. Which even the ships have kind of like a sea animal kind of look to them, where they kind of like look like whales or like some kind of deep sea fish or something like that.
To be fair, if you look hard enough, a lot of aircraft in general kind of do.
I mean, that's a fair point. It's probably because fluid dynamics and aerodynamics, pretty similar principles.
Yeah.
The same shapes are going to work. Anyway, so fight happens. Stitch ends up kicking Whale Shark Man's ass and saving Lilo. They all make up, crash land in the water, and then Surfer Bro comes out to save them. When he doesn't come out, I think they like land next to him or something like that.
Yeah, emergency land next to them.
And then what is it? Galactic Emperor lady comes and she's gonna haul Stitch off, and for some reason,
I fucking hated this scene.
For some reason, the fucking adoption papers she has from the Pound are good enough for the Galactic Empire to say, like, oh, okay, I guess we can't extradite him.
It's like getting to the end of a really good story and going, and it was all just a dream because there are no consequences and fuck everything that happened in the plot.
Yeah. So they were going for a happily ever after. Stitch gets to stay with Lilo. Galactic Empire lady. Oh, and social worker guy Bubbles. Turns out he used to be a Man in Black or part of the CIA or something like that. And so he they like
Back
had
in Roswell.
yeah, back in Roswell. Yeah, yeah. And she's like, "Oh, you had hair back then," or something like. Yeah, it's anyway. There's a little exchange between them,
Mhm.
and so it turns out that, and then also Galactic Empire lady says that, "Oh, by the way, you can't take this child away because, yo, we supersede you, social worker man." And then you get like a montage of a happily ever after where sister has a job, Lilo and Stitch get along. The end. That's it.
Basically, all the actual improvement stuff got turned into a montage.
At the end of the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's I mean that's a whole plot. It's not a very complicated one, but I
Yeah.
found myself very much enjoying it. Which again made me wonder, like, why did I never go back and watch this movie again like I have with other Disney
No,
movies?
it's definitely gonna be, and it's a movie that I think an adult can watch happily,
Yeah.
which is important in kids' movies.
Yeah. Well, exactly, because you want it to be for the whole family.
Yeah,
Like
you don't want to be falling asleep during it.
Yeah, exactly. You want a movie that the kids will have fun watching and that the parents will also have fun watching.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
this accomplished it very well.
How many grass skirts out of 10?
Give it a solid 7.
7 grass skirts.
What about you? How many whale sharks out of 10?
Whale sharks. Ooh, whale sharks. Big time points. I would give it an 8.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad that I've rewatched
Hang
it
on.
now. Sorry. Oh, he's reconsidering.
I'm reconsidering. I'm like, hang on. I'm thinking about 7.5.
7.5.
Final verdict.
All right. Yeah. Good movie. Fun watch. A few contrivances and plot holes, but that's to be expected in a children's sci-fi movie.
Unacceptable.
This isn't like hard sci-fi. I mean, their spaceships looked like whale biplanes.
Yeah.
Biplanes is the wrong word, but yeah. All right.
No, it was a good film. I think anyone could enjoy watching it. It doesn't stretch the imagination. It's a lot like Ponyo, is what I was thinking the whole time. It's a lot like Ponyo. Except Ponyo looks nicer visually, although it's not as funny as Lilo and Stitch.
I'm trying to remember Ponyo now.
That's the one where there's a goldfish.
Oh, yep. Okay, that's another one I've only seen once. I saw it in theaters and never again.
Very cutesy. The art is amazing.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's Studio Ghibli, but
Yeah.
not as funny as Lilo and Stitch.
We should watch a Studio Ghibli movie at some point. Maybe that'll be mine.
Good.
It's your choice next, actually. So let's tease that at the end of this video here.
Well, there's actually a Studio Ghibli that I was kind of interested in watching. I think you'd really like it as well. In fact, you might have already seen it.
Which one?
Porco Rosso.
I have not seen it.
So it's about a biplane fighter.
Hmm.
He's big, and he's like the Red Baron.
Okay.
But as a Studio Ghibli film, and I've heard about it. It's come up a couple of times recently, and I'm kind of psyched because it sounds fun, whilst also being mildly historical.
I'm curious to see how this goes, because like the concept sounds kind of like sounds kind of weird, but it's Studio Ghibli, and every movie that I've seen from them, I've really liked. So, just quickly, the ones that I've seen are like Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke.
The best one.
There's one.
Howl's Moving Castle.
Howl's Moving. No, I don't think I've seen that one.
Really, that's a good one.
I've seen the one. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's the one where there's like this Lapida city that's floating in the sky, and they have to get to it. I can't remember the name.
Isn't it called literally City in the Sky or something?
It might be
something City in the Sky. Hang on, I'm being messaged.
But
Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky. That's what it's called. Yeah. So I've seen that one. But I haven't seen. I've never seen Totoro.
I haven't either.
I've never seen Howl's Moving Castle, although I have it. I just haven't ever watched it.
See, with My Neighbor Totoro,
Hmm.
it's a massively overhyped film for a start. And what I've heard about it from people who have seen it is that it goes on for a very long time
Hmm.
and not much happens in it. Like, it's cute and kids love it,
I've
but
heard
there's
the
not much
same
going
thing,
on.
that there really isn't much of a plot.
Yeah. But Howl's Moving Castle is great. We should watch that
I'll
sometime.
have to watch that. All right. Not to go too far into Studio Ghibli at the end of this, but yeah. Good movie. Fun watch. Fun for the whole family. Watch Lilo and Stitch if you haven't already. It's a nice, wholesome, fun time. Yeah. This is going to be the end of episode, I have no idea what, of Movie Night. But the number will be in the title when I actually publish this. The first one in a while. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, you'll hear us again whenever we get around to watching the next movie.
Boom.